You will not be here forever, you know this. So why are you still building as if you will? Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining, how do you build something that outlasts you? Let us start with the only question that matters. What are you actually trying to leave behind? Not what you say you want to leave behind. What you are actually spending your days constructing. Most people will tell you they want to build something meaningful, something that endures. And then you look at how they spend Tuesday. You look at what they protect, what they defend, what they refuse to give up. And you see very quickly that what they are building is a monument to their own comfort. That is not a legacy, that is furniture. The question of how you build something that outlasts you begins with the question of whether you are building at all, or whether you are merely accumulating.
I would push back on that framing immediately. You are assuming the person knows what they want to build. You are assuming the intention is clear and the only problem is discipline. But what I have seen in 50 years of working with people, is that the drive to build something lasting is rarely what it appears to be on the surface. It is almost always entangled with something the person cannot fully face. The fear of death, yes, but more specifically, the terror of having been here and meant nothing. That is not a discipline problem, that is a depth problem. And if you do not go down to where that fear actually lives, you will keep building the wrong thing for the right-sounding reasons.
You are both starting in the middle of the problem. Epictetus wants to know what you are building. Jung wants to know why you are building it. But neither of you is asking whether the impulse to make something permanent is itself the thing getting in the way. Everything that lasts does so because it was not gripped too tightly. The moment you build something specifically to outlast yourself, you have already changed its nature. You have made it about you, and things that are about you tend to end with you.
That is easy to say and very hard to live, LAOZI. And most people will use it as an excuse to build nothing at all. They will say, yes, non-attachment, I should not grip too tightly, and then they will do nothing for 40 years and call it wisdom. I have no patience for that. What I am asking is practical. You have a finite number of days. What you do with them either matters or it does not. If it matters, there are choices you make that increase the chance that what you build survives your absence. Those choices are knowable. They are not mystical.
But Epictetus, you are still assuming the person knows what matters. And this is where I think you consistently underestimate the problem. The unconscious does not care about your schedule. It does not care about your clarity of intention. If there is something unresolved, a wound that was never examined, a fear that was never named, it will express itself in what you build. You will build to compensate. You will build to prove something to a parent who is long dead. You will build to silence a voice that told you once that you were not enough. And the thing you build will carry that distortion in it, and it will not last because it was never really about what you said it was about.
Jung is pointing at something real, but I think he is still describing the problem from inside the grip. Yes, people build to compensate. Yes, they build to silence the wrong voices. But the reason this happens is not only psychological. It is because they have decided in advance that they must leave a mark, that the point of a life is to make an impression on time itself. And that decision, that assumption, is where things go wrong. Not everything that lasts was intended to last. Some of what endures is simply what was done well, without that particular anxiety attached to it.
So your answer to how you build something that outlasts you is, do not try to outlast yourself. That is not an answer, that is a riddle. And I have noticed that riddles are very convenient for the person who does not want to be held to a practical standard.
You want a practical standard. Here is one. Stop asking whether what you are building will last. Ask whether it is true. If it is true, if it reflects something real, something that serves something beyond your own reputation, it has a chance. If it does not, no amount of intention or discipline will save it. That is practical enough.
I agree with that more than I expected to. Though I would add, and I think this is essential, that truth is not always visible to the person building. This is why the interior work is not separate from the external work. It is the work. If you do not know what is driving you, you cannot know whether what you are building is true or compensatory. You cannot know whether you are creating something or simply erecting a defense.
Fine, let us accept that self-knowledge is part of it. But self-knowledge without action is just comfortable suffering with a better vocabulary. At some point, you have to make a decision about what you are going to build, and you have to build it. You have to choose your people. You have to choose what you will teach and what you will refuse to compromise. You have to make those choices in the light of the time you actually have, not the time you wish you had. The person who spends 10 years excavating their childhood and never builds anything has also made a choice. That choice will also outlast them, as a cautionary example.
That is a fair point, even if it is a harsh one. But I would say the two things are not in competition the way you frame them. The examination is not a delay to the building. For many people, the examination is what allows the building to finally begin, because until they see clearly what they are running from, they cannot choose freely what they are running toward. And a thing built freely, without that particular distortion underneath it, has a different quality than a thing built under compulsion. People can feel the difference. That is part of what makes something last.
There is something neither of you is saying, and I think it is the most important thing. The things that last longest are rarely the things that were held onto most tightly by the person who made them. They pass through the maker and into the world and become something the maker did not entirely intend. What you build will be changed by everyone who touches it after you. What survives is not the thing you made. It is something the world made out of what you offered. If you can accept that, if you can build and then release what you built, the release is not a failure of grip. It is the completion of the act.
I do not disagree that what you build will be changed, but you still have to build something worth changing. You still have to begin. A person who never plants anything is not practicing non-attachment. They are practicing avoidance and giving it a philosophical name.
And a person who plants without examining the soil plants into their own blindness. I keep returning to this because I think it is the most underestimated variable. The quality of what you build is inseparable from the quality of your self-knowledge at the time you are building it. This is not a mystical claim, it is an observable one. Look at the work people produced before and after a genuine confrontation with themselves. It changes. Something comes through that was not there before. A kind of honesty, a depth, that is what lasts. Not the scale of the ambition, the honesty of the contact.
The river does not decide to reach the sea. It simply moves through whatever is in front of it and the sea receives it. What you build is like that, or it is like building a dam and wondering why the water stops.
Now you are doing the thing with rivers again.
I am saying that the anxiety about legacy is the dam. It blocks the very thing you are trying to release into the world. That is not a riddle. That is what is actually happening.
Then, say what that means for the person who wakes up tomorrow with 20 years left maybe, and a question about what to do with them.
It means build what you actually believe in, not what you think will be remembered, not what will impress the people you are trying to impress, what you actually believe in. The rest is not in your hands. It never was.
And to know what you actually believe in, you have to know yourself, which means you have to be willing to look at what you have been avoiding, not forever, not indefinitely, but genuinely, once clearly, with enough courage to stay with what you find.
And then you have to act on what you find. You have to commit to something specific and build it with the time that remains, not the time you wish you had, the time that is actually there. That is the discipline. That is the part that nobody else can do for you. You have heard 3 arguments. All of them are pointing at the same door. Stop now and look at what is behind it.
Most people who want to build something lasting are not confused about skill or strategy. They are confused about motive, and motive is the thing that determines everything. Here is what I have observed. The work that endures is almost never the work that was most consciously aimed at endurance. It is the work that came from genuine contact with a real question, a real wound, a real belief. Something the person could not make because it was pressing outward from inside them. That quality is felt by others across time. It does not decay the way ambition decays. The problem is that most people cannot access that genuine contact because they are building on top of something they have not looked at. A need to be significant, a fear of having been invisible, a debt to someone who once told them they would amount to nothing. These are not weaknesses. They are simply the materials underneath the floor. If you do not know they are there, you cannot build on solid ground. What makes something outlast you is not the size of the vision or the discipline of the execution. It is the honesty of the contact between what you made and what was actually true in you when you made it. Today, sit down and write this out. What is the one thing you are building or want to build? And underneath that, what is the fear that is attached to it? Name the fear plainly, do not analyze it, just name it. Because the moment you can see what is driving you, you begin to build from something more true than fear. And that is where lasting things begin.
You will not be here forever. That fact does not require your panic or your resignation. It requires your honesty. What you leave behind will not be decided by how hard you tried to leave something behind. It will be decided by whether what you built was true. That is the only standard that survives you. Begin there. Begin today. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Tribune. 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.